Terry.
You ready, Terry? I love that. Hello. Being 5 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. I'd like to remind everyone that we're on Treaty 6 land, the home of the Métis, and I'll ask everyone to rise and the city clerk to say the prayer.
O God, let us each in our own way ask your wisdom and guidance in our deliberations. Help us to incorporate into all our decisions those values which will enable us to fulfill our mission to act as responsible stewards and to respect and value the cultural and spiritual tradition of all citizens of the city of Prince Albert. For this we pray. Amen.
Thank you. I'd like to remind everyone that doesn't have vibrate or silence on your cell phone, that is, you shut it off so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And with that, I'll move to number 3, approval of the agenda. Councillor Miller.
That the agenda for this meeting be approved as presented and the presentations, delegations, speakers listed on the agenda be heard for and called forward by the mayor.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Gilmer.
Thank you. I'll second that.
Thank you. So I will prompt the question. The question is now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, it's now all open. Thank you. Motion carries. I'd like to remind everyone today on Teams we have Councillor Zepp and Councillor Head joining us. Okay, presentations, we have none. Delegations. Declaration of conflict of interest. You all know what that's about. You have to declare it at the time and let the city clerk know if you have any issues. Number 6, adoption of the minutes. Councillor Gilmer.
I'll move that the minutes of the council regular meeting held March 28th, 2022, and special meeting held on March 29th, 2022 be taken as read and adopted.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Edwards.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. I'll prompt the question. Question's now open. Councillor Zepp.
Yes.
Councillor Head.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 7, notice of proclamations. So I'll ask you to be patient with some of these words that I have. Oh, they're on the board, right on. We're going to move number 1, Faljamaija Awareness Day, May 12th. Number 7.2, Moose Hide Campaign Day, May 12, 2022. 7.3, Community Cleanup and Pitch-In Week, May 1st to 7th. 7.4, Skin Cancer Awareness Month, May of 22. Number 5, Influenzas Policies Awareness Month, as shown on the board, 7.5. Those are the 4 proclamations I did this month, and they've been declared. Number 8, public hearings, we have none. Number 9, delegations, we have none. Number 10, communications, we have none. Number 11, reports of administrations and committees. 11.1, development permit application 1403, Bishop Pasco Place. Councillor Goldie's light won't come on. Oh, there you go. Okay, Councillor Cody.
Yes, Your Worship, I agree with the administration's recommendation that and I will move that the development permit application for the use of catering service childcare Center Health Clinic office, private school, and public assembly to be located at 1405 Bishop Pascal Place be approved subject to, number one, the applicant submitting all required plans for review and approval by the administration, and number two, the applicant entertaining into a land skip agreement with the city, and number two, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute all necessary agreements related to this application on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Bodnik?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Councillor Cody?
Yes, Your Worship, I think this is a tremendous opportunity that we have in the city to help out a group of people who are badly in wishing to sell their building, and the folks here are glad to take it on, and they're going to be a great asset for our community. The Métis Society is large, and we have a large Métis population in our community.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be fantastic. I understand they're going to move a lot of their people from throughout the province into Prince Albert, which is again a good job creation item, which is good for us. So I'm very happy and pleased that we are looking towards the application and making sure that all goes well with them as quickly as they can. As I understand it, they're wanting to move forward quickly. So we appreciate planning, doing what they can to do whatever they can to get the organization going.
Councillor Zepp?
Thank you. I echo those comments, and I'm hearing a lot of positive feedback from members of the community on this item, and I just wanted to congratulate the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan on this plan and look forward to it moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any
Your
other?
worship, yeah, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. No, really happy to see this on the agenda today. More than happy to support this motion, because we've had a lot of inquiries about what's happening in this building. And so I guess the only question I have is and I know the report touches on it a little bit about the pool, but I've been questioned about, do they have any plans for that piece of that building?
Unfortunately, that's still in the planning stages. We do know they intend to open it to the public, but at this point, we don't know the hours. And once they get required and get staffed up, then they'll be making that announcement.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councillor Edwards?
Yes, thanks, Mayor Dion. I fully support it. It's a wonderful thing that's happening for the city. However, I do have one concern. It's noted in the report on the medium to long-term plans. And one of it is a housing and homeless support center, which sounds good, but it also says a possible shelter. So I'm wondering if they plan to open a shelter, if it has to come back to council prior.
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Edwards, for the question. Certainly, as the letter says, there's potential for that type of support. At this time, there is no plan for a formal shelter that we've been told. All that is being approved is these uses in front of you in the short term. Anything other than what you see would certainly come back to council for consideration.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Bodnik?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick comment too. As Councillor Cody said, this is a win-win for both groups. The sisters of the presentation have been looking to sell this building for years now. They had some projects that fell through, and which was unfortunate, but now a purchaser is there, and by the looks of what they planned for the building, it's going to be a very, very busy building. A lot of services being provided in our community that are much needed, and it's by an agency that knows what they're doing. And that's the key thing, is that when you have the private sector or service groups knowing what they're doing, let them do it, because they can do it a lot better than governments can do it. So I'm very happy to see that this is moving forward with this particular group. So thank you.
And thank you. Very well said. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll prompt the question. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Counselor Head?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. 11.2, sanitation truck tender, 15 of 22.
Tony Head here.
Counselor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that the tender number 15 of 2022 for the purchase of new sanitation truck be awarded to Superior Truck at a total cost of $443,119.77, which includes PST and GST, funded from the Equipment Replacement Reserve, and 2, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute any applicable documents on behalf of the city if required.
Thank you. Seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilor Gilmer. Any discussions, questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll prompt the question. Questions now open. Councilor Head?
Yes.
Councilor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. 2022 Capital Pavement and Utility Infrastructure Replacement Program. Councilor Gilmer?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd move that report 22-173 be received as information and filed.
Thank you. Seconder, Councilor Bodnick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second that report.
Thank you. Comments? Seeing none, I'm prompting the question. Questions now open. Councilor Head?
Yes.
Councilor Zepp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. 11.4, golf course improvements. Councilor Cody?
Yes, Your Worship. Once again, I agree with the recommendation that has been put forward, and I move that the bunker renovation plan as attached to RPT 22-146 be approved, and that a request for proposal be issued to select the contractor and confirm the funding allocation for the bunker renovation project, and that the 2022 golf course paveway improvements plan as outlined in RPT 22-146 be approved, and that administration forward a report regarding the results of the bunker renovation project request for proposal to the Golf Course Advisory Committee for review prior to City Council's consideration.
Thank you. Councilor Sierikowski?
I will second that.
Thank you. Comments or discussion?
Yes, once again, this is a very important piece for the golf course. You know, there's one thing to have a beautiful golf course like we have, probably one of the best in the nation, and not do anything with it to keep it up, but there's another thing to keep it up properly. And this here is just one more piece of keeping that golf course proper. And it is a tremendous asset in our community. When you think about a golf course of that nature sitting in the center of your city, you just can hardly believe that that it's possible. And it's well maintained, it's well kept, well done. The only one little concern I would have is that we make sure that when we're doing these renovations, that this gentleman's department here is fully apprised of what's going on, so that we know what's happening and we know prior to the time it does happen. Because sometimes things happen out there that aren't quite, I think, what members want and or the city wants. And as a result of that, I'd like to see far more hands-on by our Director of Community Services. And if we can have that guarantee, I think we're home free. And so I say proceed with the project, but certainly have a bit of hands-on when it comes to doing some of the work.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, I'll prompt the question. Counselor Zepp,
Yes.
Counselor Head.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. 11.5, Prince Albert Minor Baseball Mirror Park Lease Agreement. Counselor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. That the lease agreement between the city and Prince Albert minor ball, hockey mine.
That's tomorrow night.
Yes, tomorrow night. For the ball facilities at Mirror Park be approved for 2 years, the term of May 1st to 2022 to April 30th, 2024, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Seconder? Counselor Edwards?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Comments? Counselor Miller?
Thanks, Mayor Dion. Just in Schedule B, page 73, if maybe we could add a little bit to take in their garbage containers and recycle bins at the end of each year, that would be great.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll prompt the question. Counselor Zepp?
Yes.
Counselor Head?
Yes.
Thank you. Carried. Okay, 11.6, Kinsman Baseball Complex Naming Rights Agreements. Counselor Edwards?
Thanks. I gotta look back here.
No, that's fine.
The naming rights agreement for the Kinsman Baseball Complex between the city and Michael Lipchuk Realtor, Remax PA Realty, in the amount of $9,000 for a period of 3 years ending December 31st, 2024, be approved with one field to be named Lipchuk Field for the duration of the agreement. 2, that the naming rights agreement for the Kinsman Baseball Complex between the city and Econo Lumber, Prince Albert, in the amount of $9,000 for a period of 3 years ending December 31st, 2024, be approved with one field to be named Econo Lumber Field for the duration of the agreement. And 3, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Counselor Zierakowski?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any comments? Counselor
may,
Zierakowski, go ahead.
It's, again, yet another project in our city that's built on partnerships, and it's wonderful to see the community coming out in support of this project. And thanks to the department, thanks to the PM Minor Ball, and all those other people that have worked behind the scenes to make this project come here today for approval.
Thank you. Counselor Kilmer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to thank Community Services, the group, that the baseball group, and as well as Councillor Edwards, for remembering Lou Hobson. I see in the report that there will be a wall of honor in his name in recognition of a great man who did a tremendous amount for our city. So thank you.
Absolutely. Any other comments? Councillor Edwards?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just very quickly, the President, Dwayne Cripp, has just done a wonderful job raising the funds for this complex, and a big thank you goes out to him. The marketing strategy that they put together with the City of Prince Albert has been excellent, and they're raising a lot of the dollars required for Phase 1, and it's going to be nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'll prompt the question. Counselor Zepp?
Yes.
Counselor Head?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. 11.7. Off-leash dog park development. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that $12,100 from the 2022 Community Services operating budget to invest in improvements in the off-leash area as outlined in the responsible pet ownership bylaw be approved.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Miller.
I'll second Mayor Dion, and I would like to thank the committee for all the work that they've done on this and
you.
the department.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Zierakowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is overdue. I think there's a need in our community for off-leash dog parks, both small and large. And I think the department choosing this location, I think, is a bit of a natural location. Certainly, it's been in operation and existence for quite some time. And it's a natural evolution of where I think we need to go as a community for the dog owners and dog lovers to take their pets so that they don't have to go to Little Red and let them off the leash there. So I'm excited about this growing conversation. My hesitation lies in, I'm not quite sure if we're all in on this location, on this project. I'm not quite sure if this gets us there. In fact, I'd suggest it probably doesn't get us quite there where we need to go. I'm thinking about the dog parks in Saskatoon, in Calgary. I think Regina only has 3. They're currently constructing 4. And chatting with our colleagues across the province and visiting the ones in Calgary, I think there is value in the separation of the residential areas that currently exist with the proposed location of the dog park that is also being proposed. So in effect, and I'm going to lean on the department to correct me if I'm wrong, what we're looking at doing is putting up some signage, doing a little bit of work on the pathways, and garbage cans and garbage bags like we have along the Rotary Trail. I'm not quite sure, that's what I mean, if that's what we're doing, that's great, but I'm not sure if that causes us to be all in or not. I think there is some need for some strategic fencing in that area, where it borders residential areas, where it borders the Rotary Trail, where off-leash dogs, cats, coyotes are not allowed. You have to have them on leash. So I'm wondering if this is all we're going to do at this location. And I wanted to mention that tonight because I think we're going to, as our community grows, do better when it comes to off-leash dog parks. And if this is the standard that we're setting, the next conversation in a year or two will be, well, it's good enough because that's what we did at our first off-leash dog park. And I'm not quite sure if we're all in on this location. So I love the conversation. I hope that we're able to do more to protect that area. It's a natural area. I think it's a great location for the most part. But I think there is some need there along the residential corridors.
Councillor Cody.
Yes, Your Worship. I'm certainly not opposed to off-leash parks or dog parks of any kind, but I'm very, very concerned about this particular spot here. And the reason I'm concerned about it, it goes right along the Rotary Trail. And there's a lot of traffic on that Rotary Trail now. And I can just imagine the amount that there's going to be added to it once you open it up to these these dog owners. And you know, the park has been there, and the off-leash park has been there for 25 years. It's just that nobody knows about it. But now everybody knows about it. And I know about it because I get calls about it. And I got no end of them this weekend. And saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're going to allow big dogs along the Rotary Trail, and my kids are going there with their little tricycles and bicycles, and I'm supposed to take a chance on that. And I say that's a little on the dangerous side for me. And I believe that that if we were to fence just along the Rotary Trail, At least we'd have that capped off. And I think that would be a lot better. Another issue is traffic. It's going to be tremendous traffic down there. And really, there's no parking down there. If you want to park down there, you got to park on the street on First, or you have to park in the lots that belong to the people who are living in those apartments. Well, they're not going to be very happy with you. So it is not necessarily the best spot in the city. And I'm a little bit torn between saying yes or no, but I think on behalf of the people that have called me with traffic and with the danger of dogs being off a leash, no offense, I think I'm going to have to go on the side of the folks that talk to me, and I will not be supporting it.
Thank you.
Tony head in the queue, if I could.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, when I look at the dog park, the map, the area by the Rotary Trail, I mean, it specifies that dogs have to be on leash. And that goes for anywhere on the Rotary Trail. Not only this area, it goes for right across the city. So when I'm riding my bike on the Rotary Trail or when I'm walking on the Rotary Trail, you come across people walking their dogs all around the city. And it's not an issue. We have people that are responsible pet owners walk their dogs appropriately. And now in this area, the purple, which is along the Rotary Trail, and then there's a mass of trees in there. I mean, that's where they have to have on leash. It's the off leash is the little green path, which is quite a ways from any residential area. So I don't see that as being a concern, safety. What I see maybe is parking, and you know, there is one little parking lot there. That might be a concern. But right now, to me, that would be the only concern that I would have is if there is enough parking, and I'm not sure there is or isn't. But that could easily be rectified if the need arises where we need more parking. So I think this is a good location. As two councillors said, this has been in existence for years. Just people didn't know about it, and now we're formalizing it and we're signing it to make it safer and to have an off-leash dog park, which is what we've wanted for years. We've heard that people want an off-leash dog parks, and so that's what we're going to do and we're going to build. So I'm fully supportive of this particular motion. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. A lot of the things have already been said, but a key point for me, I will be supporting this motion. Councillor Cody had mentioned this dog park has been in existence, and I've been contacted by several residents wanting to see a little bit more formalizing or putting more signage. So we're doing exactly that. It's a start. I know we're going to have to kind of go through some of the growing pains about, having this formalized and or signed. But I am happy that we have a start. And I know through some of the discussions, there's other possibilities of parks throughout our city. So I know this won't be the last one, but one that we're looking at now, and definitely putting up some signage for people to be aware of that. So I'll be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else with any comments? Councillor Zirakowski.
Thank you. So just before moving forward for myself, I need to have some clarity if I may. So after tonight, if this passes, I'm curious of the city's view. Is it, yes, this is it, that's all we're doing here, which is something, which is great? Is it, no, we're going to be doing more, we have plans to do more? Or is it, we're going to pay attention and we're going to wait and see how this area mixes in with the nearby residential near the Rotary Trail? So I'm curious of the city's point of view, because if this is what we're doing, full stop, period, I think that's a bit of a different conversation.
Okay, and before I go to the director, I too have a concern about the dog park. You talked about all the other cities. Well, if you go to all those other cities, their dog parks are fenced. So I got my friendly pit bull that's friendly to me, but doesn't like your little chihuahua, and you're walking down the Rotary Trail and I'm in the park. There's nothing in between that park and that trail to stop my dog from going over there. And so that's one of the concerns I have. I did go look at other parks. Saskatoon was very blessed. Most of their parks are on where their water reservoirs are, so they're 100% fenced. I didn't get to the most popular one is along the river there. I didn't get to that one, so I don't know if that one was fenced. But the rest of them that I went and looked at, they were all totally fenced because that was the reason they have an off-leash dog park. You can let them off the leash, but they can't get out of the compound. And so that's my major concern about down there.
Director.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. So certainly the department has heard, not just today, but also when we had brought the presentation to Executive Committee previously, we've heard the discussion that you're hearing from residents in your ward or from other community residents that have been looking for us to start somewhere with dog parks in the community that are officially designated that way. This would not be it, I don't believe. I think the intention here is we need to start somewhere. This is identified within the responsible pet ownership bylaw as an off-leash area that we think is worthy of investing in before moving to an alternate location. It gives us an opportunity this year as well to monitor the participation. So if we see that there's issues that need to be reported on or further investment is needed to create more of a constructed barrier, I would call it, fencing being one of those ways of doing that, we would have the opportunity to report at the end of the season, outline that as a measure that we should consider at budget, and then we would make sure that that consideration moves to Budget Committee. If we see the participation there to be positive, people responsible with their pets within that designated area, we'll make sure we report that as well. But I think it's hopefully a balance regardless of fencing or not. We need to see responsible pet ownership within those designated spaces and in the future when we hopefully grow out to other locations as well. So at the end of the season, we'll be sure to provide a report on the results of participation.
Councilor Zierakowski.
Yeah, and that's great. I appreciate the open-mindedness of the department and willing to receive feedback as we move forward. And certainly the the west part where there's a lot of thick green part, I think will help. It's a natural growth in there, which is great. I have been to the large one in Saskatoon along the river. You know, it borders it's an off-leash dog park. It's very large. It borders naturally the river, and it also borders naturally Circle Park, which has a fence along Circle Drive.
Okay.
So there strategically, same in Calgary. I had a chance last week to go to Fish Creek in Calgary along that enters the Bow River. And again, it's a natural, similar to Prince Albert. We're blessed with the river. There's a natural border there, but yet along the residential areas, it is fenced for the off-leash dog park. So I appreciate the response from the department.
And thank you for answering my question because that's the only park I didn't get to in Saskatoon. Councilor Kilmer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Further to what Councillor Cody was saying, with the residents that have concern about parking, my suggestion would be, I did not realize the parking was further down, that there was parking available further down. So I'm hoping that the signage and perhaps communication-wise, we can encourage people to, rather than park in front of homeowners and residents, to actually go down the road and use the parking lot as designated.
Okay, right on. Okay, I see no one else in the queue, so I'll prompt the question. Okay, the question's now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, 11.8, beautification 2022. Ooh. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once again, I'll move that the beautification initiatives as outlined in the report be approved for the 2022 season.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Edwards.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Okay. Oh, Councillor Zip gets up late again, so I gotta cancel everything. Just stand by. What was I done here? I know, that's why I'm making sure. You guys gotta get a little louder. Just a minute, what did I do here? Abort? Councillor Zierakowski.
Thank you, Your Worship. Question, if I may. A lot of these initiatives I view as operations. To me, they're almost normal operations that the city, we as the city as a corporation should be involved in yearly. And so, you know, we talk about grass cutting, weed control, washing of the concrete on 2nd Avenue, the graffiti removal. Those are some of them mentioned. So I'm wondering if we see this as a quick evolution towards being initiatives and taking these into the normal operations of the city as we do our spring rotation of cleaning, or will these continue to be one-offs that priorities are set so that they do happen under the beautification tagline, or is it our intent and hope and desire to build these into the operations of the city?
Director of Community Services.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. To Councillor Zierakowski's inquiry, I do see these types of measures as very much operational, I would agree. I do intend, through the department and working with our parks manager, to look at these on an annual basis. We've heard in the executive committee discussions that we've had, and budget for that matter, over the past couple of years, maybe some willingness to think about a bigger plan and what beautification needs in the community. With keeping that in mind, we've noted it with our overall strategic plan due as a city. The department has noted this discussion as one of those initiatives that I think needs a broader discussion on how a corporation such as the city can think a little bit bigger picture when it comes to terms of beautification.
Thank you. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess the discussion, this was part of the Community Service Advisory Committee work plan. And the discussion with members of the community that sit on that particular committee was to make sure that there's a positive look to our city. And where is the positive look for $75,000? It's a $75,000 budget. Where's the most impact can be made? And that's our corridor, 2nd Avenue. And that's why the focus is, for the last number of years, has been on 2nd Avenue. I mean, if the city would at budget time, if we had add money to it, we could do all of the other entrances and Central Avenue and the whole, and everywhere. But it comes down to $75,000. And if you remember, that was a heck of an argument to get $75,000 to do this. There was lots of opposition to increase to make our city look good. And so the money can't be spread throughout the entire city. And so that's the focus. And that has been the focus for the last couple of years by the Community Service Advisory Committee, bringing it forward for council to make the final decision, of course. But that's their recommendation, that we focus in on this particular area, because that's where the majority of people that travel through our city is going to go, along 2nd Avenue. We want that place to look clean and give a positive image to our city. And for $75,000, that's a pretty good deal.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll cue the question. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you. 11.9, Federal and Provincial Funding Application, Branch Library. Councillor Zierakowski.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move administration's recommendation that City Council support the application for an Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program grant for a new Prince Albert Public Branch Library and agree to meet legislative standards, the terms and conditions of the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, conduct an open tendering process, manage the construction of the project, fund the municipal share of the project, ongoing operation and maintenance costs, and to follow any mitigation measures as required by the Federal Impact Assessment Act and the Environmental Assessment Act of Saskatchewan.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Bodnik?
Thank you. I'll second that motion, and I'll speak very briefly on it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Once again, this fits into the Community Services Master Plan. When we look at when we did the Community Services Master Plan, we consulted with every neighborhood of the city. And what are your top priorities for outdoor recreational kinds of things and indoor cultural kinds of things? And a library was on the top of the list. A new library. It was up there in the list, yes, a library was part of that master plan. And this just follows through on this. This is going to be phase 3 of the big project that's happening in, what's the area called? The Yard, right?
Yes, the Yard.
Yeah, the Yard. And our entertainment area of the city. So this fits in well with that particular development, fits in well with Community Services Master Plan, and that's why I'm supporting this initiative.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Cody?
Yes, Your Worship. I'm going to support the application, all right, or the motion. But I have one little concern, or at least a tip to give to those who are making this application. It's in the report, briefly in the report, with regards to we must be careful with the ISIP grant and the people that you deal with in the federal provincial government, because you have to remember that you cannot have stacking and you cannot have these two buildings touching each other and all of those things. And I just would hate us to all of a sudden lose some portion of the grant that we're now getting, or to purported to getting, to build the rinks and the aquatic center just for this here. And not that this isn't important, and I'm certainly going to support it, but I just want to caution just a wee bit when you're making the application. We are very distinctive that we do not say that there's going to be something of a mix here, because if you have that, if you have a mix and a closeness to it, it simply it'll throw the application out. And that would be a shame.
Thank you. Councillor Ziarkowski.
Thank you, Worship. And thank you for Council's guiding this process along the way. We previously agreed to make that application. I'd like to thank administration and the Director's Department, who is having intimate conversations with the people that you mentioned to make sure that we're okay moving forward. We certainly don't want to put anything that's existing at risk, absolutely. But at the same time, the federal government has opened up an envelope recently and said this is the purpose of it. It's not for infrastructure, it's not for recreation, but it's for culture, and libraries fit within that. And as Councillor Gronick reminded us, that the branch library fit high in that public consultation process that we went through. So again, I'd like to thank the library board for their initiative of bringing this forward. I'd like to thank council for being supportive and administration for all their hard work and moving this forward. Because again, the federal government says, here you go, make your application and good luck to you. And that's the step that we're in right now.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. Certainly support the application. I really scratch my head on the terms. It's all about green initiatives. We got to save the world, but don't join the buildings together because you're going to lose your money. Well, that makes absolutely no sense. And I'd really like to pick up the phone and speak to the people that write this application process, because it's just absolutely ridiculous. Here we are, we're trying to save some dollars and save the world from the rising temperatures, and they won't let us do this. And I can't fathom. I can't justify where they're coming from. Do this, green, but don't do the buildings together because heaven forbid. I don't know what to say further than that, but
I'm with
they
you.
really need to open their eyes.
Any other comments? Seeing none in,
Tara Lennox up for the queue, please.
go ahead.
Thank you. Firstly, a question for the administration. Are we aware of anything from this program that advises us that a library building would not be able to be physically connected to any other buildings?
Yes. Yeah, we've had that for 2 years now. That was part of our grant on the pool and the other one, and the twin pad.
I understand I'm wondering from the department, if I could ask the director if we've received any confirmation, because I guess the reason I'm asking is I have not seen that yet. And I'm wondering from the department's point of view, if we have received confirmation from this program that we could not join this building with other buildings.
Go ahead, Director, Community Services.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. To Councillor Lennox Epp's inquiry, so we, as administration, have had a couple different direct meetings with the provincial government representatives responsible for the ISIP program in which we're applying for. So through those conversations is where they've kind of displayed some of that caution for us in the application process. We did, out of those discussions, have 3 options to consider when submitting this application. One was to submit it as a change in scope to the existing application that we have for the Twin Pad and Aquatics facility. However, the risk there was, as we've discussed, the stacking concept of the funding we've already received was a concern at this point. The other was some combination maybe of mechanical equipment and services and things to that nature. Seemed to carry a little bit less of a risk, but that risk still existed. At this point, their advice, and we would recommend that we proceed in the manner and the advice that we've received from them, is at this point a standalone application to not risk that funding appears to be the best option. If we're awarded the funding for the project, I think that's an opportunity where we can have some further conversations between City Council and the City of Prince Albert and the upper levels of government on how this exactly proceeds and what is the best, most efficient use of the funding.
Thank you. And another question is, in this application, are we committing to a certain location within the application, or is that to be determined later?
So that would be, the exact site would be something I would say is determined at a later date. All they need for the purposes of the application is for us to show the overall site in which we're currently constructing the Twin Pad and Aquatics facility, or will be proceeding with that project. That is all they needed at this point. To exactly pinpoint where it goes was not a necessary requirement at this stage of the application. All they wanted was the overall land description, legal land description of where it would be located.
So in the department's view, by making this application, we're committing to this particular area site of land, not exactly where the placement would be, but to this particular area of the city.
Correct. I would say at this point we're committing to the overall site with further confirmation to proceed.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, I'll prompt the question. Okay, the question is now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, 11.10, License Agreement, Prince Albert Slow Pitch League. Councillor Edwards?
Also move that the license agreement between the city and the Prince Albert Slow Pitch League be approved and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Kilmer?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? I see no one in the queue. I'll prompt the question. Question's now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. 11.10. Oh, no, sorry, we just did that one. 11.11, request for funds from PA Slow Pitch League Reserve. Councillor Kilmer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd move that the installation of the steel tables in the concession area at Lakeland Ford Park in the amount of $5,898.64 is funded from the PA Slow Pitch League Reserve be approved.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Miller?
Thanks, Mayor Dion. I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I see none. I'll prompt the question. Question's now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. Motion carries. 11.12, one-time property tax abatement. Ooh. Councillor Cody?
Yes, I agree with the administration's recommendation, and I move that a one-time abatement be granted to residential properties that receive a tax increase exceeding $700 in 2021, excluding properties with substantial renovations or a change in classification, for a total abatement of $111,775.94 to be funded from the Fiscal Stabilization Reserve.
Seconded.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second it, and I'd like to speak if I can.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to support this motion, and I think this helps ease, not totally, but a little bit, of the burden that was placed on 40% of our residents last year with reassessment. We had some residents went up a lot of money. Their taxes went up a lot, and in a year when we promised that we had a 0% tax increase. But because of reassessment, taxes went up. And so we want to abate $700 back to any resident who had money back to anybody that had over $700 increase in their taxes for last year. And I'm one of them that had a tax increase. However, mine was justified. I added a garage, and so my assessment went up. So I will not qualify for this because that is the normal process of what happens through taxation. When you make that substantial improvement to your property, your taxes do go up. So I get that. But some residents didn't have any kind of changes. It's just the way the assessment works with having to do that, and their taxes went up significantly. So I support this 100%. We had 60% of our residents who already got a grant or got money back because their taxes went down. So what we're doing is we're just equalizing that out to as many residents as possible for that 1 year of 2021. So that's why I support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zierakowski.
Last year, this council as a whole approved a 0% tax increase. 0. So you can imagine the surprise on our faces when months later, the tax notices went out and people's taxes increased by 1,000. by 2,000. And some of our residents, their taxes increased by over 4,000 and as nearly as high as $6,000. And I can tell you, as sure as day follows night, that that was not our intent. And so we've made some changes, I believe, that will prevent this from happening again. And I think it's only just and right that we make our residents whole. When we put our hands up to approve a 0% tax increase, this was not what we expected. Now, moving forward, eyes wide open, be prepared to make your appeals if you feel you need to. Appeal your assessment. I'll say it one more time. Appeal your assessment. Yes. So know that date next year. But last year needs fixing, and that's what we're going to do today. I hope.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to support the motion as well. The hikes were unreasonable that occurred. This isn't perfect, but it certainly shows that we're trying to help something that went wrong. And it's unfortunate that occurred. It's a one-time abatement. Their taxes are still going to stay the same this year. They're not coming down. It's just a bit of a rebate, and it helps. So I'll support the motion as well.
Okay. Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to make clear and maybe make sure that I have a clear understanding. I'm hearing assessment and taxes in the same sentence, and assessment is, to my understanding, so I think this is to the Director of Finance, assessment is separate from the taxes. Is that correct?
Was that your question? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Director.
If you'd like further information, I'd like Breanne Vance, our finance manager, to respond.
I'm just clarifying, assessment is a total, assessment happens, assessment is on your property value, right?
That is
then
correct.
From that property value, if that assessment happens, we look at the budget. We didn't, my recollection isn't necessarily a 0% tax increase, it was a 0% increase in the budget last year.
So when you said a 0% tax increase, if there would have been no assessment revaluation, then your portion of the taxes would have remained at zero. But then there's still the school taxes.
Okay.
So if the school taxes would have gone up, the taxes still would have gone up, but the municipal share would not have gone up if you had a 0% tax increase.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Zapp.
Thank you. I oppose this proposal. We will have to make up for this $111,000 somewhere, and this $111,000 means a need for future tax increases, which affect all property owners, with different valued properties, lower valued properties, middle valued properties, and the higher valued properties. Thank you.
Okay, I see no one else in the queue.
No, Your Worship, if I could.
Okay, just say your name like Tara does, and then I'll put you in the queue.
Thank you. Yep.
Go ahead, sir.
I guess I have a question for the director and a comment as well. You know, you're naming the fiscal stabilization reserve. Could we get a number on what that reserve is at? Also, maybe I'll just get that question answered if I could, Your Worship.
No, go ahead with your comments, and then I'll fire her up. Or are they related to that comment?
Well, it is. It definitely is. Yeah. So I'd like to get.
Well, it's millions, but it's hard to figure out. Let's see. I don't think we can give you an exact number because it floats every day. Go ahead, Director.
We are just in the process of finalizing the financial statements for 2021, so we can give you a more accurate number in the fiscal stabilization reserve once those are finalized. So can we get back to you on that?
Well, if
Yeah,
you don't
no,
have
it'd
it,
be-
you got no choice.
Yes, I would like to get that eventually, but I realize that there is money in there. I just wanted to get the number out for the public. As some of the comments we heard today, we really worked towards 0% increase that year, and so it was really unfortunate that we are on assessment year as well. I didn't realize as a newly elected councillor that this was going to amount to huge swings in taxes, and as Councillor Zarikowski has said, Councillor Blake Edwards as well. There's huge numbers and huge swings. So, anything we can do give back to our residents, we should. And so I will be supporting that. Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you. I see no one else in the queue. It is now open. Councillor Zepp,
No.
Councillor Head,
Yes.
motion carries 7-2. Q 1113, auction service agreement. What's your wish? This was,
Tony Ed.
okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll go ahead and move that the request for proposal number 21 of 2022 for auction services be awarded to McDougall Auctioneers Limited for a 3-year term from May 1st, 2022 to April 30th, 2025, with an optional 2-year extension if mutually agreed. And 2, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Miller?
Thanks, Mayor Dion. I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments? Councillor Kilmer?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm wondering, I noticed that it says, I guess my question is, why is there a 2-year extension on a mutually agreed upon written or mutually agreed upon? And typically, I've noticed that we've had 5 years, so why is it a 3-year with a 2-year extension? So.
You tackled it out. Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kilmer. Our purchasing agent, Mike Lytle, prepared the request for proposal documents. So I'd like him to answer that question for you, if that's okay.
Yes, go ahead to the mic. And let,
So
you're up, sir.
Thank you for the question. The reason we picked a 3-year was just so that we had a long enough term with the auction service to give them a good shot at what they could do. And the 2-year extension was to bring it up to that 5 years. And the mutually agreed upon is typically what we've seen in the past is they hold all the rates and everything the same. There's never been an increase, but that gives us the opportunity, if there was any increase, we could go back to RFP again.
Okay, so is this a company that we are currently using?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Oh, so we already have experience with them?
Yep.
Okay. And I'm just amazed at the figures, how much more money they've got us with their online and their Alice auction, and that's why I have no problem supporting this one. The revenue that we've got in return since we've used their services has just been amazing. Okay, I see nobody else in the queue. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. 1114, Contract Zone Agreement Extension, TLS Lawn Care.
Tony
Oh.
Head here.
Hello, Tony. I'll put you in the queue.
Thank you.
Councilor Zirikowski. You're first.
That the contract zoning agreement between the city and the company known as TLS Lawn Care for an industrial service establishment and storage yard located at 333 15th Street Northwest for a 5-year term from April 30th, 2022 to April 30th, 2027 be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement and any other required documentation on behalf of the city once prepared.
Thank you. Councilor Brodnick.
Thank you. I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councilor Head, you had a comment?
No, I was just going to second or move the motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see then no discussion in the queue. Councilor Zepp,
Yes.
Councilor Head,
Yes.
thank you. Motion carries. 11:15, new home construction tax incentive agreement, 664 19th Street West. Councilor Zirikowski.
Thank you, Worship. I'll be pleased to move the administration's recommendation that the assignment of the new home construction tax incentive agreement for 664 19th Street West from VC Stonework Limited to Caroline Barcelona be approved, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the amending agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Seconder? Councilor Cody?
Second it.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Tara Lennox-Zapp.
Go ahead.
Question for the department, please. The rationale behind offering these new home construction improvement incentives is to encourage individuals to build new homes in our city. I'm just wondering, from the department's point of view, what is the, I guess the strategic or the beneficial reason that the city would allow this benefit incentive to be passed on to the new owner?
Go ahead, Director Planning.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Lennox-Zapp, for the question. Originally, this program was approved as, you'll recall, under the Building Our Tax Base programs. So the intent of the program itself was twofold. Firstly, to get people into homes, and secondly, to get our trades and our carpenters and our businesses running and operating under what was a very difficult time through COVID. So this house was built on spec, and it is now being sold. So I believe it ticks both of those boxes. We've got a new homeowner in place, and we've also got that new homeowner being able to, be tax, abated for an additional 2 years. So we feel it does meet the intents of the program.
So just so that I can confirm, so the building organization, they built it, they had the incentive under their name, and this is now being sold, I take it, I guess the first time homeowner to reside in the property?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor Lennox-Zapp. This program did not require them to be a first-time homeowner necessarily, but it does get a new home built with a new property owner, and they get to take up on the duration of the agreement, so an additional 2 years.
Right, sorry, I meant that this was the first time that this residence would be lived in.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, to clarify, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Zirikowski.
So just so we're clear, there's nothing special about this ask. This is in the policy, this is in black and white in the policy, that was an administrative policy. It came to council, the council had previously approved this policy.
Correct.
So we're aware of this policy, it's been approved by council, and this is just the implementation within the policy. When the ask came, comes back to council.
Yes, thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask a further question?
All right, go ahead.
For the director, my understanding from the report is that any time that a transfer of this incentive were to happen, that's any transfer under the policy is at the discretion of City Council. So in the policy, it would have to be determined by either yes or no by City Council. Did I read that accurately?
That is correct. Any transfer of the agreement would require council approval.
Thank you.
That's why it's here. Okay, I'll prompt the question. Councillor Zapp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. Okay. 11:16, results of tender 2, land disposal, 418 7th Street East.
Tony Head here, Your Worship.
Go ahead, sir.
I'll move that the vacant lot located at 418 7th Street East be listed for sale for $48,000 plus goods and service tax. And 2, that should an offer for the above noted sale price be received, the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the sale agreement and transfer authorization on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Councillor Kilmer?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none in the queue. Questions now open. Councillor Zapp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. (1117) bylaw number 12 of 22, rezoning land, future urban development to C4 highway commercial, park M3, large light industrial. It's a cleanup bylaw. Councillor Edwards.
Also move that bylaw number 12 of 2022 be introduced and given first reading, and that administration provide notification to hold a public hearing.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Miller.
I'll second Mayor Dion.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none in the queue. Queue's open. Councillor Zapp.
Yes.
Councillor Head.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. (1118). Oh, sorry. Sorry. Forgot the clerk.
Mayor, we have bylaw number 12 of 2022 to amend zoning bylaw number 1 of 2019 to rezone land within and surrounding the signature development lands known as the Yard from future urban development to C4 highway, commercial, or park. This bylaw is for first reading only.
Thank you.
Pardon?
Councillor Edwards.
Also move that bylaw number 12 of 2022 be introduced and read a first time.
Thank you. Seconder. Thank you. Councillor Zierakowski. Any comments? See no one in the queue? Did you have a comment? Thank you. The vote is now open. Councillor Zierakowski. Councillor Zapp.
Yes.
Councillor Head.
Yes.
Thank you. Carried. Thank you. Bylaw number 13 of 2022, rezoning bylaw review and amendments. Councillor Edwards.
Also move that bylaw number 13 of 2022 be introduced and given first reading. And 2, that administration provide notification to hold a public hearing.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Miller.
I'll second Mayor Dion.
Thank you. Comments? Oh, thank you. Okay, I'll prompt the question. Councillor Zepp.
Yes.
Councillor Head.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. City Clerk.
Mayor, we have bylaw number 13 of 2022 to amend zoning bylaw number 1 of 2019 to amend various housekeeping matters in relation to zoning bylaw number 1.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Also move that bylaw number 13 of 2022 be introduced and read a first time.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Miller.
I'll second Mayor Dion.
Thank you. I see no one in the queue. Councillor Zepp.
Yes.
Councillor Head.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. 1119, offer to purchase 26 Headley Road.
Tara Lennox Zepp.
Okay, Councillor Zierakowski.
Sorry, may I go ahead?
Hold it. Pardon me, Tara?
Sorry, I was ready to move the motion, but I can wait.
Oh, okay, if you want to do that. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Zepp.
I would move that the offer to purchase for 26 Hadley Road for $85,000 plus GST be denied.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Zierakowski.
Seconded, yeah.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Kilmer.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering if with the new home construction policy that we have just discussed, if there's provisions in that, because I have not read that, that this property would be open to that, even regardless if they get a lower purchasing price or not.
Director.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kilmer, for the question. Our three-year tax rebate program has since lapsed and is no longer in place. So unless there is a very special consideration by council, no, this purchase would not be subject to that type of an incentive program.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Normally, I would agree with selling lots, but I think this particular lot, as the report says, it was initially listed at $119,900, and we as a council decided to reduce those lots by 20%. 20%, which brought that lot down to $95,000. And the offer is $85,000, which is $10,000 less than already a reduced lot of 20%. And so I think I normally would say, yes, let's sell because we're going to get taxes, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it already has been reduced by 20%, and that is a fair, for all of the residents that have purchased under this plan or this program where we reduce these lots for 20%. So I'm going to vote no, or I'm going to vote in favor of denying this particular offer. And that's the reason I'm voting in favor of denying it, is because, as I said, it's already been reduced by 20%.
Correct. Okay, I'm prompting the question. Question is now open. Counselor Zepp,
Yes.
Counselor Head,
Yes.
thank you. Okay. 11:20, Prince Albert Elected Official Compensation Review Commission. Counselor Cody. I have to turn them, no. No, I've got them on, we're waiting for the clerk.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. And again, I agree with the administration's recommendation here that bylaw number 14 of 2022 be introduced and receive 3 readings, and that the following individuals be appointed as members of the Elected Official Compensation Review Commission. 1, or A, Stan Lowen, B, Arnie Lindberg, and C, Brenda Mishak. And number 3, that the remuneration for members of the commission be set at the amounts as outlined in the report to be funded from the Fiscal Stabilization Fund.
Thank you. Seconder. Counselor Edwards.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. Discussion?
Tara Lennox up for the queue.
Okay, Counselor Miller, go ahead.
Yeah, I know that this issue is going to have some controversy to it. There's no doubt about that, but, were you on first?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll defer to you.
Go ahead.
Anyway, I know there's going to be some controvery for this issue. There always is. It's been that way for the last 50 years when members want to, or administration asks there to be a review. They're not asking there to be an increase or anything like that. They're just asking there to be a review. And I think it's necessary from time to time to review. That goes without saying, whether it's a piece of legislation or whether it's this or that or whichever it may be. But nevertheless, it's going to have some controversy to it. But at the same time, I think we've got 3 individuals here that appear to me to be quite capable, and I think they'll do the right thing for the community, and they'll do the right thing for the council, and they'll do the right thing for all of the people that need to be looked at from time to time. We don't have bargaining rights. We don't have bargaining rights like others do. So as a result, you have to have someone else do it for you. And in this case here, I think the people that administration have selected are fair-minded people, and I think they'll do the right thing for what they think the community should be offering people to work in these jobs.
Thank you. Councilor Miller.
Great, thank you, Mayor Dion. I was just wondering, where did we come up with this list of names? It's just interesting to me that we got asked to put this committee together, and then the very next meeting we have this list already. So where did this, to the city manager, acting city manager, where did this list come from? Was it from administration?
Councillor Miller, we spoke to, as all appointments are for boards and committees, the city clerk spoke to the Mayor Dion and consulted with him, who then consulted with members of the management committee regarding this matter, which is in their purview. And these were names that 3 members of council put forward. Stan Lowen is a retired judge for the city.
I'm well aware who these people are.
So those were the people.
Great, thank you. And I don't doubt that they'll do a very great job for all of us on city council, and good luck to them, and all the best.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Zapp. Councillor Zapp.
Thank you. I am in favor of this motion. I am also making an amendment, which is an addition to the motion. The amendment is that this bylaw be amended in section 3, sub D, to add the phrase maternity leave.
It's a different motion. So it's
No,
good.
it's an amendment to, I would state that this is part of the bylaw that is being proposed here. We have vacation leave under 3 sub D.
Yes.
And that this would be an amendment to this bylaw.
And you just said it would be an amendment, so it's an amended motion.
I'm proposing an amendment to this motion that's on the floor.
Yes. So we'll ask the mover if he agrees to the friendly amendment, otherwise it'll have to go for a vote. Councillor Cody.
Yeah, I think the amendment is okay. We can debate that amendment prior to
Yes.
going to the main motion. But I think certainly it would be in order to amend it, just because of the fact that that it is really not changing the main. It doesn't really speak to this particular motion here, but what it does speak to is the bylaw, what's in the bylaw. And of course, this refers to the bylaw, resulting in the fact that I think we'd be okay.
Okay. I just don't understand the act, so I don't know how a part-time job, which we consider this, would fall under maternity leave. But we'll get the committee to explain that, and they can do the research. You what? Well, you're getting paid like a part-time job.
Yes, Your Worship, I think what we should just do is allow the amendment to be debated. Once we put the amendment up there, we're allowing it, then you can certainly speak what's on your mind, that's for sure, and others can as well.
Okay, so we have an amendment moved by Councillor Zapp. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Miller?
I'll second Mayor Dion.
Okay.
If I could comment?
Yes, well, just give us a minute, please. It is your motion, so you're going to get to speak on it.
Certainly.
Okay, everyone sees what's up on the board? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Zapp, with your comments and explain your motion, please.
Thank you. So this bylaw under section 3D already has this commission considering the issue of vacation leave. And so that's why I'm proposing that maternity leave could also be considered. Of course, as Councillor Cody has pointed out, if this motion passes, all that it means is that the commission would consider the issue. It doesn't make any changes as of yet, but that the commission would be able to consider the issue and give us their recommendations, which I think would be helpful to us. The City of Saskatoon has recently implemented a maternity leave for the elected members of council. And just briefly what their maternity leave provision provides, because as the mayor pointed out, you know, this is a really different type of job. Being a member of council is a different type of work than say being a full-time working elsewhere. So what the City of Saskatoon has done very briefly is firstly, as members of council have to attend a certain number of meetings per year, or else we could be removed from council. So the City of Saskatoon has changed that so that if a person is on maternity leave, they can be away for additional meetings than they otherwise would be able to. They provide secretarial support, administrative support during the period of maternity leave, which in the City of Saskatoon is only 18 weeks. So it's not a year or anything. It's 18 weeks in Saskatoon. And then they also provide some funds for childcare of a new baby. Of course, that would not go on after the 18 weeks. That's provided for only for while the baby is a new infant, so that the member of council can perform duties. Those would be my comments. Thank you.
Okay, I'll have to study that because I still don't understand it. Councillor Zirakowski.
Thank you, Worship. There's a lot of detail in there. I think all we're dealing with here tonight is asking this commission to study, come back with recommendations.
Right.
Which, of course, they should also study maternity leave. It makes sense. I wonder if my colleague meant to say maternity and paternity leave, though.
She meant to say what?
I would happily, paternity. I would happily make that amendment.
In fact, I think the intent is there. It's parental leave. We'll leave it there. I think that's what we're asking them. I don't think we need the details here tonight, but certainly it should be on the list.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, I'll prompt, yes, we're voting on the amendment. So what are we gonna do? She just put it in the machine, so stand by. Right at the bottom? Right here? Amending motion? Yeah? Okay. Okay, I have the question open for the amendment. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Okay, amendment carries. So I'll prompt the motion now.
The bylaw number 14 should, as amended, be introduced and receives 3 readings. As amended. No, after 14. Whatever. Good.
Okay, hang on. I'm with you, but. Okay, it's now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. City Clerk.
Mayor, we have bylaw number 14 of 2022, which is to establish an elected official compensation review commission for the city. This bylaw is for 3 readings today. As amended? Or no? As amended.
Thank you. Councillor Cody?
Yes, Your Worship, I move that bylaw number 14 of 2022 introduced and read a first time.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Edwards?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I see no discussion. I'll prompt the question. Well, don't talk over me then. I can keep going? Okay, so on first reading. Questions now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Carries unanimously.
Now you have to do the amendment. The
Okay.
bylaw has to be officially amended.
But you stay in your own seat. All right. So we're not giving the first reading, or is this now the amendment? Okay, we now have to move the amendment. to be part of it, Council Cody, then we'll continue on.
Yes, I do move that bylaw number 14 of 2022 be amended as follows, that maternity and paternity leave be inserted to section 3D of the bylaw.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Edwards.
Yes, I will second that.
Thank you. She's not even here and she drives me. Okay. And now I have the amended motion open. Councillor Zapp,
Yes.
Councillor Head,
Yes.
thank you, carried. Go ahead, Councillor Cody.
Yes, I move that bylaw number 14 of 2022 be read a second time.
You. Councillor Edwards,
Seconded, Your Worship.
thank you. Questions now open. Councillor Zapp,
Yes.
Councillor Head,
Yes.
thank you. Councillor Cody,
I move that leave be granted to read bylaw number 14 of 2022 as amended a third time.
Councillor Edwards,
Second that, Mayor Dion.
thank you. I'll prompt the question. So this is for leave. Councillor Zapp,
Yes.
Councillor Edwards,
Edwards.
Edwards,
pushed
sorry.
this button
Councillor
and said
Head.
yes.
Councillor Head, thank you. Passage unanimously. Leave is granted. Councillor Cody,
I move that bylaw number 14 of 2022 be read a third time and passed, and that bylaw number 14 of 2022 be now adopted, sealed, and signed by the mayor and city clerk.
Councillor Edwards,
I'll second that.
thank you. Questions now open. Councillor Zapp,
Yes.
Councillor Head,
Yes.
thank you. Oh, missing one. Missing one. Who are we missing? Councillor Cody. Well, you canceled it when you hit it the second time. Okay. 11.21, City Manager Appointment. Councillor Cody.
Yes, I agree with the management appointment and the mayor's recommendation that Sherry Pearson be appointed as city manager for the city of Prince Albert for an 18-month term effective May 1st, 2022, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the employment contract on behalf of the city according to the terms outlined in the report.
Thank you. Councillor Zierakowski.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. Discussion, comments? I'll just make a quick comment. I'm pleased that she's accepted our terms. She's a 28-year employee with our corporation and has great experience, especially when it comes to the area that she's going to be stepping into, because the city clerk and city manager are pretty matched together with the mayor. So I want to wish her all the luck, and I want to thank her for her consideration. And I will now. No, that's the next appointment. It'll be after today's meeting. Okay. Questions now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, 11.22, city clerk appointment. Councillor Zierakowski.
I will move that Terry Mercier be appointed as city clerk for the city of Prince Albert for an 18-month term effective May 1st, 2022.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Cody.
Yes, with pleasure, I second that motion.
Thank you. Any comments? Hearing none, I'll prompt the question. Questions now open. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so we'll move on. Number 12, unfinished business. We don't have any. Number 13, mayors and councillors forum. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. I had the privilege to attend the announcements of the $30,000 donated to the Baseball Association. It was held at the Alfred Jenkins. It was on air, live feed on the Blue Jay game that the City of Prince Albert and the Baseball Association received $30,000 from the Toronto Blue Jays. And that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
It was well attended. There was lots of kids there that were pretty darn excited to hear the news. And it was well put on. They had a 20-foot big screen to watch the game on for the kids, and they were bombing around having relays, and it was just it was a pleasure to be there. Thank you.
Good on. Councillor Brodnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a little bit of PA history. I want to mention that it was back in 1999 on this day that the finals of the Air Canada Cup, which is now the TELUS Cup, were held in Prince Albert. And the consolation game, one of our own, Jody Boulay, was playing for the Prince Albert Mintos. Unfortunately, they didn't win that game, but I do understand that Jody did score a goal in that game, so that's pretty good. So
he did his job.
I don't know how many penalties he got, but that's the last time PA has hosted the AAA midget, or now U18 boys hockey. We've won it 3 times since we've hosted, but it would be nice to get it back in Prince Albert sometime, and maybe with the new rinks, we'll have a chance to do that. So congratulations to that committee, and of course to our own Jody Boulay, who played on the Mintos, and a little bit of PA history I thought I'd mention today.
Thank you. And we were already depressed about the snow. Councillor Cody.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I had the opportunity, myself and Councillor Kilmer, to be at the Samuel McLeod Awards, of which I brought greetings on your behalf and on the behalf of City Council. And it was a very well-attended evening. It was pretty prestigious, I must say, and a lot of good awards, and a lot of good participants, and a lot of good nominees, and all of them well-deserved, but only certain ones can win, naturally. But one that I do want to mention is certainly the Legacy Award, which goes to Terry Mason. Terry was a longtime realtor in our community, and his wife Barb and their daughter Amber accepted on his behalf, naturally. So that was good, and a lot of other awards, and well attended, and it was a great evening. So I thank the Chamber of Commerce and certainly the chief sponsor, who is Saskatchewan Polytechnique. We thank them as well for their sponsorship, but also all the other ones. This community steps up to the plate all the time when it comes to sponsorships. Like they're from all over the place and really showcases what our community is all about, and also showcases what kind of a business community we have. We have a fantastic business community, and it showed there the other night with those awards.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the Mayor's Forum?
Tara Lennox Zepp, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to thank the First Nation University of Canada Students Association. They did a pitch-in and litter pickup on Friday, April 22nd for Earth Day. And they had about 50 students who went around in our downtown areas and also other areas of the city, picking up litter, volunteering, and really beautifying our city. And I was happy to be able to go with them and assist with that work. So thank you to their kind work. Also, I would mention that May 1st through 7th is our pitch-in week with the City of Prince Albert, and I wanted to thank Councillor Miller for her leadership. She's been advocating and working on the pitch-in week for a long, long time, and I just wanted to thank her for her leadership in this one for this year coming up shortly. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, anyone else? Okay, I'll close with I want to thank some of my colleagues and some of the department heads attended a luncheon. We had the Finance Minister, Donna Highpower, here from the province of Saskatchewan, and the Premier joined her at the luncheon, and she just went over. She does this annual trip. She goes to the 5 big cities right after the budget is out, and sort of does the second act and answers questions. It was very well attended, and of course we emphasized to the province that of course we need more instead of less, and we of course debated again the PST on our construction project, and we will continue to highlight with that. And it was well attended, and we were well received. So with that, I'll move to number 14, inquiries. Councillor Miller.
Thanks, Mayor Dion. I was just wondering if any department heads have an update on the busing situation that is, we're having an issue with busing, of course, everybody knows that, and wondering for the residents out there who catch the bus, is there an update from someone?
Okay, we'll go to the director.
Perfect.
I know how to do it. Shift.
Thank you very much for that question.
Thank you, Acting City Clerk.
It's been a very, very rough struggle through this winter with the issues that we're having with the Vicinity buses that we purchased, all being out of service, and any kind of substitute buses, the school buses that we purchased as temporary, and even with First Bus, the availability of their own buses. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. We had 3 buses out today. We have 2 more buses that they tell us will be on the road by the end of the week. One of our Vicinity buses and our Flyer bus, our old Flyer bus. Following week, there'll be another one of our school buses should hit the road again because the repairs will be completed. And then we also, First Bus has received 3 buses that we spoke about that came from the United States. They are now in the city. They're getting their safeties done. And it should be probably about 2 or so weeks to get them into Canadian specs so that they can go on the road too. That will give us 9 buses, and then we're still waiting on First Bus. They're going to deliver another 3 buses. So there is some light coming at the end of the tunnel, but it's been a long haul, I understand.
It's been a very long haul. I received quite a few phone calls on the weekend, and there's quite a few residents that are upset about the situation. You know, we have working people that can't get to work. Costs a little bit more to get to work. Seniors that can't go out, and go for their coffee break or whatever they need to get out. And people on low income that, one way to go get their groceries is to catch the city bus on one way and then probably a taxi the next way. But there's a lot of people suffering in our city that can't get to where they need to go. And that's all over our city. It's I know in Crescent Acres, there's people that from Share and Kin Enterprises that can't get to the places they need to go as well. And, maybe a little bit of compensation in the near future for the residents that suffered this loss would be a great thing. Like I know that we do have a free transit week promoting green initiatives. Sort of like
going to the rink.
So maybe do a week of free busing or something like that. I'm not sure. Of course, council would have to agree to that situation. But something along those lines would be a great help to our residents. Thank you.
Yes, and that is something we will certainly look at again. We did look at it earlier in the season when all of the buses were down, when it was extremely cold there in January. And what we did was extended the bus passes that had been purchased for an additional month. So those who actually spent money getting a bus pass got 2 months instead of 1. I think that's more preferable because it directly impacts the paying ridership versus free busing, which then has impact on our paying ridership because we have other issues that then happen with free ridership. But we will definitely look at that again. Thank you.
And we will be making a big announcement when we get the other 3 buses. Then we'll have a total of 6 from First Bus, and we'll be showing them off. And hopefully they'll run all summer, and then they should be okay for the winter because they'll be upgraded for our weather. Councillor Zierakowski.
Thank you, Worship. I want to follow up on Councillor Miller's inquiry by asking this, then I have another one, by asking this question. The city does not operate those buses, and so what organization, agency certifies those buses as safe? Who does that?
Thank you. So all of our buses have to be certified roadworthy. Just like all of our equipment, all of our city equipment has to be certified to be roadworthy. Depending on what the topic is, for instance, the buses that the City of Prince Albert owns were sent to Maxim Trucking for SGI certification. There's certain shops that have the certification and they do it on behalf of SGI. SGI doesn't actually do it themselves. So just like as if you purchased a car out of province, you would take it to a certified place that can do the safety inspection. So our buses have gone to Maxim.
So the new ones coming in from the States?
The new ones that are coming in from the States, I'd have to get back to you on if First Bus has the qualifications to certify an out-of-country bus or not. Right. I know on their own buses in Canada, they recertify those. But this is an out-of-country bus. I'm not sure if they can. If they can, they will. If not, it would go to somebody like Maxim.
Right. If they meet the safety qualifications.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. I have to confess, I feel a little awkward because I feel like I want to ask about the snow on Buchanan and Laurier, but I won't. I want to shift gears to this upcoming spring, and folks are asking about street cleaning and sweeping. And so I didn't know the timeline. I don't know when that's occurring, so I guess that's my question. As we shift from the white stuff to almost May already, what are we expecting? What can the residents expect? And admittedly, a couple of these guys own motorcycles, so a little anxious to get out there. So do we know yet? Do we have dates in mind for street sweeping?
Yes, we do. Actually, that was coming to you in your weekly update if you hadn't already received it today. But street sweeping always is weather dependent. We can never set a specific day every year. It's weather dependent. It has to be staying above 0 and awful close to 0 even at night because the equipment requires water tanks for wetting down for the dust and picking up the debris. So you can't have those freeze. We have had the sweepers already on center lines for the 2nd Avenue, 15th Street East and West, and 6th Avenue East. So we're preparing for the line painting. So we're clearing the center lines, and our surveyors and sign shop will be doing the measuring, and they put the little square white blocks painted onto the road so that the line machine can come and follow them, because they're followed with a optic camera. And the street sweeper plan is to be starting in full street sweeping at the beginning of May. So very soon. Again, weather dependent. If we get a sudden cold spell, we have to back it off.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a nice change in practice to clean the streets before they get painted, as well as the crosswalks. I think that's been an improvement that's shown to last. So thank you for that response.
Okay.
Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is to Public Works as well, and I don't expect a response tonight. I'll submit it, but I do understand that repaving of streets requires more than just the pavement quality index, but pavement quality index gives us an indication of what the streets are like, and it kind of gives us and residents an indication of how many years will go. And so these are some of the streets that I drive on that I notice didn't make the cut this year, which is fine. I get that. They all can't. But 9th Avenue West from 15th Street to River Street, I'd like to know the pavement quality index there. Dunn Drive is bad. Fraser Place, Sybil Crescent, Cowan Drive, and Baker Place. Those are a couple of the streets that I have, and I'll give that list to the clerk so that you can follow up and just let us know how poor of shape those streets are in, and that'll give us an indication of if it's going to be 2 years, 3 years, or whatever down the road of getting repaved. Thank you.
Councillor Miller.
Yes, I would like to add to that list as well. So the 1900 block.
I have 100
no,
blocks.
Sorry, Mayor Dion, I have the floor. Thank you. So the 1900 block of 15th Street West is just atrocious, as Councillor Edwards would know mostly. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else under inquiries? Hearing none, I'm moving on then to inquiry responses. There is none. Thank you. Notice of motion? Is none. Oh. We got to get his button fixed. It doesn't seem to work. It's very slow. Councillor Zirakowski,
Wow.
You're up. Notice of motion.
I prefer to think before I speak, so that tends to work better in most cases. So we'll give it a try.
Okay.
Today as well. What I'd like to do is, after it's been a conversation here, to chat with administration. Sorry, this is my notice of motion. That administration review the nuisance bylaw, specifically when it comes to animals. Period. Let's see. I'm not allowed to speak to it, so I won't, but I think that's my motion.
Next council meeting, you can explain it.
Thank you.
Okay, which should be an interesting one. Okay, we have no more in the queue, so we're going to go on to motions. 17.1, Councillor Zepp's motion to call to action, number 88.
If I may move that the city implement the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's call to action number 88. We call upon all levels of government to take action to long-term Aboriginal athlete development and growth, and continued support for the North American Indigenous Games, including funding to host the Games and for provincial and territorial team preparation and travel.
Seconder?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Okay, people want to speak. I'll leave it to you to close, Councillor Zepp. I would, let's hear your reasoning and then I'll speak. Sorry.
Certainly. I have already been contacted by one member of the public who advised that she was a participant in the North American Indigenous Games. And so I think that is something that we should, think about, and that this is one of the calls to action that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission has asked us as all levels of government to look at funding towards. And I think this is something we as a city could do. And it makes sense that, once we've received these Truth and Reconciliation Commission recommendations, that we take a serious look and where we can help. And this is an area I think that would make a lot of sense for the city of Prince Albert. We have a high Indigenous population. There are different ways that we could implement this call to action. It talks about funding and assisting development of Indigenous athletes in our community and the North American Indigenous Games. And so I hope that this motion does pass today. And I'm very much open to the many different ways that we could implement this call to action. Thank you.
Okay, I will start. I will not be supporting the motion. Even though it is recommended, it's recommended to all three levels. It doesn't say that all three levels have to do it. It could be federal, it could be provincial. It doesn't have to be municipal. It's three. The reason that I don't believe in it, and I don't believe in it right from my heart, we have great athletes of all culture and from all different backgrounds in our community, and we should support them all equally. We just seen the young lady that just came back from winning 2 bronze medals. Would I like to support her? Absolutely. But as a city, we struggle with our budget every year. And so I directly contacted the Grand Council because let's see if it's an issue. In 2017, they sent 71 athletes to Toronto. That's the last time the Indigenous Games were on. They're supposed to be every 3 years, but COVID killed that. So the next 3 years, the next games are in 2023 in Halifax. And I'm already working with the Grand Council on how many athletes we can fund. So it would be different if they were standing here in front of us and asking us for funding. And they did not do that. It's one of our councillors that have read the reconciliation and decided that maybe this one we could do. And I respect that. But at the end of the day, I cannot support it. I've been involved in Indigenous Games actually since its birth, because the first one was held in Prince Albert. And I continue to support it and sponsor it. But as a city, we have a policy that we do not sponsor. I would love to have it, but we would need $750,000, $500,000 to sponsor all the requests we would get. I remember my days in the malls, the sponsorships we used to get. When Weyerhaeuser went down, the requests just went out of the roof. But it's an area that I have checked. It's not a shortfall. They did comment to me that if you wanted to add to it, you do help us because you give us ball diamonds, you give us soccer fields, you give us all the amenities to lead up to the game so our athletes can practice. You give them lots of opportunities locally, and so it's not like they're isolated. So unfortunately, on the calls of reconciliation, this is one that 88 that I cannot support. And we don't have to. If you read the reconciliation, it's up to all three levels of government to choose. So I think they're talking either to the federal or the province. But with that said, when we did host the Indigenous Games, we did get funding from those three levels of government. And if we did bid and get the games, I would be asking for support then. But that's different than supporting athletes. That was supporting an economic development event that really helped our community. So unfortunately, I will not be supporting this motion. Councillor Obrodnik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I look at the recommendation, it talks upon all levels of government to take action. And I think if we focus in on that part of the call to action, that we work collaboratively with all levels of government, it's easy to do, and it wouldn't cost us. The way I look at that is in the development of athletes, whether they be Indigenous or Aboriginal, I should say, or not. We as a community should assist in the development, but in particular, we need to focus in on Aboriginal athletic development. Doesn't mean that we have to put money towards it. It means that we could waive some fees, or we could provide access to our facilities. For example, the Senator's Cup. You know, provide the facility, make sure that we have everything in place, assist in whatever we can do to make sure that that type of event succeeds. That's what I think this would do more of than just giving money to an athlete to go to Toronto or to Halifax or wherever. I think if we're going to work on true reconciliation, and I could be out to lunch because I'm not Aboriginal on this, but to me, true reconciliation would be as we as a city say we've got top-notch facilities. We're getting, you know, we got 30 grand from the Blue Jays for baseball diamonds to help do that. Why not say, yeah, let's put on a tournament and help assist in the development of these young children so that they can become top-notch athletes on our top-notch facilities that we're developing in this community. That, to me, is more important than just giving money. As an educator for 36 years, we made sure that no kid ever didn't play a sport because of their financial situation. If they needed funding or they needed help, assistance, it was there. And I know Carleton did the same. I mean, schools do that. And that's what the city can work with other governments in making sure that we continue to do this. So am I in favor of the motion? Yes. Am I in favor of handing money over? No, I'm in favor of using our facilities and working with other levels of government, including the Prince Albert Grand Council, that's a government, and the Métis Nation, that's a government, to develop athletes in Prince Albert with our top-notch facilities.
Councillor Zierakowski.
Tony had in the queue too, please.
So to me, reconciliation, my understanding of reconciliation is having a relationships and having conversations. The truth part about the truth and reconciliation is listening and understanding, believing and acknowledging the truths that have occurred. So I see this as the Grand Chief, the chiefs calling the mayor's office and say, we have this event, we have a number of athletes we would like to host. What can we do in our relationship and our partnerships to make this happen so that it is successful? So that we can work with the PAGC and the FSIN so we can support our athletes that reside in our community. This motion puts that at risk. Does that mean the PAGC and the FSIN will back up and say it's now the City of Prince Albert's responsibility to fund that event, to fund this team to go to North Dakota or Toronto? I'm concerned about that. I know there's some of my colleagues are in favor over the years of a high tax increase to our residents that own property. And that, I think, has to be our gate, because I'm not in favor, and it always comes down to the money. It should be more about relationships, about the student athletes, about the athletes, about the other levels of government. So I think this motion, while well-intended, I think takes us further away from having positive relationships in our community. I think that puts it at risk. So I think we have to be responsible. You know, I'm curious, you know, I'd like to ask for, you know, I'm not going to, but I think, I mean, the intent is clear. The intent was not to ask for information. The intent was to put this in front of us and to accept it. What does it mean to implement the Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls back to Action 88? It says, City of Prince Albert, you will fund athletes attending provincial territorial events for their travel and preparation and training. And I think that fails in that relationship part. I think that fails in the reconciliation part. Takes us further away from our relationships. It's not about the money. It should be about relationships.
And I'm just going to add to this, and then I'll go to you, Councillor Head, because you just sparked this. When you said it's about relationships, as soon as the Bird Centre burnt down, the unfortunate event centre that we lost, the next day, the Director of Community Services and myself were on the phone to the Grand Chief and their staff. We met once, talked 3 or 4 times. The first thing they were going to do was cancel the Fine Art Festival. I said, you can't do that. That's 700 young kids coming from northern communities that look forward to doing that. We're your partners. We have buildings. We have facilities. Let's, make it work. We're soon, later this week, going to announce where that's going to happen. It was going to get canceled because, of course, it's easy to cancel things when you get a disaster. People understand that. But no, our department stepped up with my office and met with them, and I'm meeting again with them as early as Wednesday morning at 7:30 to finalize it so we can make the announcement that the Fine Arts Festival for First Nation kids will continue. That's what Truth and Reconciliation is to me, what we're doing today. I can't correct the past, but I can make sure what we do today is right. And we didn't need a document to phone them up because they're our friends. They're our neighbors. As I said in the fire, we're one community. And we got to start acting like one community, not a divided community. We have to act as one community because that's what we are. And we're going to continue to work with them over the next week. They're putting the schedule together of everything they're going to require since they've lost that building. And it's just not only them that it's affected us because that was one of our largest facilities, and we were there for all kinds of events. So that's one of the biggest disasters that we've had when it comes to community involvement because that was such a big space, and that space was open to everybody. It wasn't just a First Nations facility. It was a City of PA facility, and that's how they treated it. And so I'm very pleased with our relationship, and I'm very pleased on how we're responding to the disaster as a community and what we can do. So for that, I'm excited. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Your Worship. I will be supporting this motion, and there's been a lot of conversation, I guess, and I've been wanting to respond. But one interesting thing you said, doing what's right, and so what's right to me is implementing this calls of action. You look at a recent census, we've had 42% Indigenous people within our community, and so adopting this call to action, is addressing some of those reconciliation. I look at the motion, it does have a financial component to it, but it also says support. And so it was said, I think Councillor Grodd, I can't remember if you had mentioned it, but, utilizing some of our services, as you just mentioned, Your Worship, having access to our buildings. And maybe that's part of the supports that we provide. Maybe we're not able to just come up with a bunch of money. It's about, reviewing where we're at and what we can do. And so implementing this call to action would be like anything else we look at. Can we afford it? And we come back to council to vote on it. So we will be able to address any of those costs as they come up. It's not an open checkbook, and here it is. It's about showing residents of Prince Albert that we're willing to implement these calls of action and look at ways as partners with PAGC, with FSAN, with the community, and how we can do that support. So I will be supporting this motion, and I encourage my other councillors to do as such. Thank you.
I can't support it, so sorry. Okay, Councillor Brodnick, then I'm going to go to the question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a question to the mover and the seconder that instead of saying the city implement, how about the city work towards implementing? And then that way it doesn't say that like next year we have to come up with, $200,000 to send our athletes to games, but we're going to work towards implementing this particular call to action. And I think that way we don't have a figure of how much this is going to cost. And so therefore, if we put work towards implementing, then it comes back to us that can we afford and do this? And I'd feel more comfortable with those kinds of words on all of these is work towards implementing these truth and reconciliation calls to action.
I understand where you're coming from, but I can say no to that too, because we did it. Yeah. Councillor Zapp.
Thank you. The mover is in agreement with that amendment.
So what is the amendment?
That the city work towards implementing.
But you got to take the word implementing out, otherwise we're spending money. I can't still support the motion. It's still too wide open. Oh, Councillor Zierakowski.
I think we're trying to wordsmith something that has quality in there somewhere, but there's hesitation. So rather than, and we've seen this a couple of times now, rather than leaping forward into unintended consequences, maybe we need to let this breathe for a bit and pull it and have a conversation about it rather than, and you know, it's the structure of how we are governed in a meeting like this. There it is, yes or no, that's the only choice you have. Maybe that isn't the only choice we have. We can wordsmith it. Embrace is another one. There's a few others that come to mind, some verbiage that would fit. My colleague on the screen, Councillor Head, spoke very well, and I listened very carefully to his words. And those are words that I would embrace insofar as the mayor said too, that takes us closer to reconciliation. That takes us closer to relationship building. And so I think that's the conversation that Councillor had, that could be shaped into a motion that would allow us, I think, a compromise to move forward with everybody's comfort level. Unfortunately, that's not the motion in front of us today.
No. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. I have some concerns with the motion. Talks about funding. That's the big trigger for me.
Yeah.
We do fund events in PA. Our destination marketing is designed for this exact purpose, and there's hundreds of thousands of dollars available for events. And a large event like the Indigenous Games, if we do host it, they'll have access to those funds, and they'll get them. So we already do fund events. And so I can't support the motion overall right now, and funding is a big reason as part of that.
Okay. I see no other comments. So I'm going to prompt the question.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just close.
Go ahead.
I have heard in reconciliation education meetings that I think several members of council have also attended at. I have heard comments that a part of relationship building is recognizing that it gets exhausting for Indigenous organizations to continually be the ones to initiate reconciliation, right? And that it is actually part of reconciliation to have non-Indigenous organizations, such as a municipal government, to come to the table and to be initiating
yes.
Action.
Yes.
And this is an example of doing that. I've listened very carefully to the comments I've heard, and I really respect that we're having this conversation. The wording of this motion is just taken directly from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I guess in a spirit of trying to follow those calls to action, and in a spirit of really trying to be serious about reconciliation. I appreciate what I heard today from several members stating that something that a city can do to follow this motion, if it were passed, is to provide in-kind, usage of our facilities. If you research and look at what other cities in Canada are doing to follow Recommendation 88, you'll see that, that is one of the many things that other cities do, is that they waive fees for Indigenous teams to be able to use our city facilities. That's one way of implementing this.
We've done that.
And so that would be important to, and many of you have said that already, that could be one way of implementing. Now,
Okay.
of course, as I stated when I moved this motion, there are many different ways to meet Section 88. And so if this motion passed, I would think that administration would then have the direction from us at council for administration to consider what ways and what tools that they would propose to us to meet Section 88. It does have the word funding. I respect that people have been talking about that. Of course, there are no dollar figures. So this would all be a proposal at budget, because that's the only way to spend dollars. And that would be a decision at budget time, not today. This is, you know, a commitment to Section 88, and then the details and how much funding, of course, is not in Section 88. That's a decision for a city to make, and how we implement is a decision for a city to make. So I do hope that this motion passes as a direction to our city administration. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to follow up what you said, just to make it summary, that's why I can't support it, because you just said it's a commitment and the word funding is there. Okay, it is now open to vote. Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Councillor Head?
It's my honor, yes.
Motion passes 5-4. I want to see who's up there. Okay. 17.2, motion, Councillor Head, Truth and Reconciliation 43.
Thank you, and I don't have as much, thank your worship, I don't have as much wording in there as well, but I would say that this call to action number 43 is that we call upon federal, provincial, territorial, and municipal governments to fully adopt and implement the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples as a framework for reconciliation. So I'll happily move this item as well. And I just want to, if I can, comment. If I get a seconder, I guess I'll stop there.
Councillor Miller.
I'll second Mayor Dion.
Thank you.
Comments?
Comments?
If I can comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you. This is one that we've already have adopted. I mean, outside the mayor's office, we have this hanging on the wall, proudly displayed to all residents who come in there. So I just want to say that this is one that we've already had signed and more of a formality today. Thank you.
Councillor Miller.
Yes, I have a question for Councillor Head. So is your intent just to refresh and re-sign? Is that what you would like to do?
Make it, if I can, worship. I would like to, refresh. I mean, I don't know if we need to re-sign it. It's already been, framed and displayed. So I'm just more so making it a formality, because I don't think you guys had accompanied that with a motion. So as a theme, we just read a report last city council meeting, highlighting some of these calls to action as well. And so I just, again, making it more of a formality.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, I'll prompt the question. Questions open. Councillor Head?
Yes.
Councillor Zepp?
Yes.
Motion carries. Councillor Head, notice of motion Call to action number 57. Councillor Head?
My apologies. I had the mute on. My apologies. Again, I will move that this motion, City implement the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's call to action number 57, which I will provide a little context. This call is also to call upon the federal, provincial, territorial, and municipal governments to provide education to public servants on the history of Aboriginal peoples, including the history of legacy of residential schools, the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, treaties and Aboriginal rights, Indigenous law, and Aboriginal Crown relations. And so again, this is one we've already, I'll move this, and if I can comment on it afterwards.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Zierakowski.
Seconded.
Go ahead, Councillor Head.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, this is one that we've already taken on and have provided some of the services through John Lemosier, I want to say. Is provide some of the education piece to our permanent staff. I understand that there's some staff that have still yet taken the training, but this is a really good call to action, and it will provide some background on how we got here today, but also very much necessary in order for us to I guess, see more reconciliation within our community, and it's geared towards public servants. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll prompt the question. Questions now open. Councillor Head?
Yes.
Councillor Zapp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. We have no public forum. Councillor Kilmer?
I move to adjourn.
Seconder? Councillor Miller?
Second that. Oh.
I'll prompt the question. Hang on. Motion's open. Everybody voted. Councillor Head?
Yes.
Councillor Zapp?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.